guys, it's Shell from Seashell Massage here. I am a huge advocate for sitting on the floor more and the couch less, so I've created this makeshift lounge room, and I'm going to run you through some really funky different ways that you can mix up how you sit, which also involves increasing your flexibility, doing a bit of stretching, and just giving your body a break from holding certain positions. If you've got a job where you're sitting in an office chair all day, it's something that you can mix up a little bit. So these sitting styles are all for the floor. You can do some of them in office chairs on the couch, but it's just fun, different ways for you to try sitting on the floor when you're watching TV of an afternoon, primarily. Disclaimer alert, if anything hurts or is really uncomfortable, or if you've got a history of injuries in your legs or your back, maybe check with your doctor first before you try doing anything super crazy. Alright, so first one is sitting on the floor cross-legged. How often do you do this? It's pretty crazy how many people have a cross-legged sit of this, and it's super uncomfortable. So if it is uncomfortable, that's a really good sign that you need to do it more often, as in this should not be foreign for your body. It's a pretty natural way to be sitting. If that's a struggle, highly recommend working on that so that you can have nice, open, relaxed legs. While you're like this, or while I'm sitting like this, the next one I would recommend is just changing the way your legs are a little bit. So I'm going to take my front leg and chuck that foot on top of the other knee. So this is putting a little bit of pressure on my bottom leg to have a bit more external rotation. So this is putting a little bit more pressure on my bottom leg to have a bit more external rotation. And I'm also feeling this in the ITVs on the other leg. So you've got this way. Obviously, you would do all these stretches with both legs, but so that you're not watching paint dry, I'm not going to run through both legs with everything. Just make sure that you're trying to keep things nice and balanced, because you will find you have a good side and a bad side, and you want to focus on improving both. Next, similar to this one, we're going to, so if you're sitting cross-legged, I'm going to pick up my top leg, and this hand's going to push, this hand's going to pull, and I'm going to yeet my leg over so that my knees are stacked. When I first started doing this, I could maybe sit like this for 30 seconds to a minute at the most, whereas now I can quite comfortably sit like this for a while. Sometimes I sit my laptop on top of my legs if I'm doing some work. There's a whole range of stretches you can get into from here as well. One of them being a cool way of sitting on the floor. So all I've done is straightened my bottom leg, and now I have a hamstring stretch going on while I'm sitting on the floor watching TV. To get into this, normally you'd have both legs stretched out in front of you, nice and straight, and then you would pick a bottom leg, which is the one you want to start with. Maybe it's the one that gets the tighter hamstring. That leg's going to stay straight. You'll pick up your other leg, and then you'll push and pull, so you'll yeet your leg over, trying to keep your knees as nice and stacked as possible. If your flexibility is here, that's okay. And then you can gradually start to, as you're doing this more often, you'll find it gets easier to get your leg like that. And then to get that hamstring stretch in, you might feel it while you're sitting here like this. I feel it when I lean forward that much. And then I'll just chill out like this. All of these stretches I would probably sit in for as long as is comfortable, which might be maybe around 5 minutes each. But see how you go. Next, you've got sitting with one leg tucked in. I have to watch with this one. I have a favorite one. I always tend to go this way, so I have to make sure I'm doing both sides and not just constantly stretching one side. But you'll tuck one leg in so it's nice and bent, and you've got one leg out on an angle, nice and stretched. I feel this in my calf and my hamstring. And then you can just sit there, minding your own business, or you can decide to try to reach your toes, depending on how intense you want to make the stretch. And then obviously there is the other way. Another one would be, I've skipped this one. Just sitting with your legs straight out in front of you. So many people struggle with this one. Ideally, you would be resting with your back against the couch so that you can have a nice straight back. You want your sit bones to be on the floor, and your legs should just be nice and relaxed. Like it shouldn't be too intense for you. If it is extremely intense, it's a good sign that maybe you need to work on that flexibility a little bit more. So continuing to do stuff that's a little bit gentler for you. What that looks like side on is just resting your back against the front of your couch with your legs nice and relaxed in front of you. If you find you're having to sit like this because your hamstrings are so tight and your hips are tilting back, so you're sitting like this, then maybe avoid doing this one until you can get that flexibility so that you're not hurting your back. Another one, so sitting so that you can stretch out the front of your leg and your ankle. Can you sit on your legs? Just like this. So I've got my toes nice and flat. I feel no stretch at all when I do this. So for me to get a stretch into the fronts of my legs, I have to lift my legs a little bit. But that's because I do this quite a bit. If you really struggle with this one, you can chuck a foam roller under your ankles and or a cushion under your bum. And then slowly, over weeks and weeks and weeks of doing this every day, gradually get it to a point where you can do this. This is quite a normal sitting position, and it's pretty crazy how tricky it is for some people to do because we're not friends with the floor as much anymore. And lastly, for today, a bit of a challenging one. See how you go. When was the last time you just chilled out in a low squat sit? So I've just got I don't even know how to explain how I got into this one, but you're standing and then you're just going to kind of sit down on your haunches. I feel a bit like a frog when I do this, and this was like an amazing stretch for the hips, for opening them up. If you struggle with this one, you can chuck something under your heels so that your heels are a bit like that. You can also be as intensely in it as much as you want. So you might be here, you might be here, or you might be here. But having a play around with that, it's amazing for your hips. Anything where my legs are bent, I don't sit in, or I didn't when I started off, didn't sit in it for too long because I would notice that the blood circulation in my legs would get a bit funky. So ease yourself into it. Try it for a little bit and see how long it can stay comfortable for. Alright, those are my fun stretches or fun different ways of sitting on the floor. I hope you find them as fun as I do. Bye!